Feeling like AI is reshaping cybersecurity faster than you can keep up? You're not behind. Well, not yet anyway. But here's the real problem. Most security professionals who are actively using AI are still getting generic results, surface level outputs, answers that don't know your environment, your stack, or the threats you're defending against. The problem isn't access. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, you already have these tools. The problem is the gap between what these tools are capable of and how most professionals use them. AI isn't magic, it's pattern recognition. And once you understand how it processes information beneath the surface, you'll never use it the same way again. In this video, I'm going to show you how AI works, how to close that gap with a 4-part framework for writing prompts that produce professional grade output, and how to build repeatable security automation that compounds every week you use it. This isn't theory. Every technique maps directly to security operations, automation workflows, and threat analysis. Let's get into it. Before you can use AI effectively, you need to understand what it's doing. Most professionals interact with AI the same way they use a search engine. You type in a question, you get an answer back. If the answer isn't good, you type a different question. That's not how AI works, and that's why most outputs stay generic. Here's what's happening. When you submit a prompt to a large language model, the model doesn't retrieve information, it predicts. It analyzes every word you've provided in sequence and calculates the most statistically likely next token based on everything it was trained on. It is, at its core, pattern completion. Every high-quality AI output for security and automation work is built on the same 4 components: role, context, command, format. If your prompt is missing any of these, the model is guessing at what you want, and it will default to the most generic response in its training data. Let's break each one down. Component 1, role. This is the most underused element in security prompting. When you assign a role, you're not just adding words, you're activating a specific knowledge domain within the model. You're telling it which part of its training to weigh most heavily. Compare these 2 prompts. Summarize this incident log versus act as a senior threat intelligence analyst specializing in endpoint detection and response. Summarize this incident log. Now, the second prompt doesn't just sound more specific, it provides a fundamentally different output, one calibrated to the vocabulary, the prioritization framework, and the analytical depth of that role. The role is your access credential. Use it every time. Component 2, context. Context is the information your model doesn't have by default. AI doesn't know your environment. It doesn't know your SIEM platform, your network topology, your threat model, or the regulatory framework you operate under. Without context, the model gives you the most statistically average answer for your question, advice that you could apply to any organization, and therefore it doesn't fully apply to yours. Context is how you make the model relevant to your specific situation. Paste in your log structure. Describe your environment. Reference to your compliance requirements. The more operational context you provide, the more operationally useful the output. Component 3, command. The command is your explicit task, not a vague request. It's a precise directive. Analyze this is not a command. It's an invitation for the model to guess your intent. On the other hand, identify lateral movement indicators in this log sequence and prioritize them by MITRE attack technique. That is a command. The difference is specificity. The model can follow a specific directive. It can only approximate a vague one. Write your command the way you would write a ticket for a senior analyst. Be direct, be explicit, assume the analyst is capable, but also assume they need clear instruction. Component 4, format. This is the component most professionals forget, and it's the one that determines whether the output is usable. Tell the model exactly how to structure its response. For example, return this as a structured alert summary with severity classification affected systems, recommended action, and MITRE technique reference. Without that instruction, the model will write you a paragraph, which you'll then have to manually parse, reformat, and potentially pass to a different tool. Format isn't a cosmetic preference, it's an efficiency decision. The right format means the output moves directly into your workflow. No conversion required. Now let's see all four components assembled into a single prompt. Act as a senior threat intelligence analyst specializing in endpoint detection and response. I am analyzing alerts from a Windows Active Directory environment. The alerts were triggered by our EDR platform following a spear phishing campaign targeting our financial department users. Identify lateral movement indicators in the following log sequence, prioritize by likelihood of credential compromise, and return the output as a structured table with columns for technique, affected host, severity, and recommended immediate action. Map each finding to the relevant MITRE attack technique. That prompt will produce professional grade output every time. You'll have the role, context, command, format, all components for every prompt, no exceptions. You have access to multiple AI platforms. Most professionals are using all of them, switching between tabs, running the same prompt in 3 different tools, trying to identify which one gives the best result. That's not a workflow. That's experimentation with no exit condition. Here's the principle: depth before breadth. Each platform has a distinct strength. Your job is to identify which strength maps to your primary workflow and commit to that platform until you have genuinely mastered it. Claude is optimized for long-form analytical tasks. If your primary use case involves processing large volumes of text, incident reports, policy documents, code review for automation scripts, Claude's extended context window, and structured reasoning are your highest leverage choice. ChatGPT is optimized for integration. GPT actions allow you to connect the model directly to your existing tools and APIs. If your primary use case is building automation workflows that interact with other systems, this is where you start. Gemini is optimized for real-time information. If your primary use case involves researching CVEs, tracking threat actor activity, or staying current on emerging attack techniques, Gemini's information currency gives it an edge. None of these platforms is universally superior. Each one is superior for specific use cases. Identify your primary use case, map it to the right platform, master that platform before expanding to others. If you're switching tools every time a new benchmark drops, you're not building capability. You're collecting tools. And at the end of the month, you won't be significantly better at any of them. Pick one, go deep. There are 2 ways to work with AI. Most professionals use push prompting. You can write the prompt, push it to the model, and evaluate the output. If it isn't good, you revise and try again. This works, but it places the entire cognitive burden on you. You're responsible for anticipating every parameter the model needs to produce a high quality response. There's a better approach for complex security tasks, and that's pull prompting. Here's the difference. With a push prompt, for example, here are 50 log entries. What's suspicious? That prompt will generate a generic response. The model doesn't know your environment, your baseline, or what suspicious looks like in your specific context. With a pull prompt, for example, you'd say, I need a threat hunting hypothesis for potential lateral movement in an Active Directory environment. Ask me every question you need before you begin. Now, the model drives the information gathering. It will ask about your environment, your baseline, or what suspicious looks like in your specific context. The pull prompt, another example would be, I need a threat hunting hypothesis for potential lateral movement in an Active Directory environment. Ask me every question you need before you begin. Now, the model drives the information gathering. It will ask about your environment, your observed anomalies, your detection capabilities, and your timeline. You answer each question. Then it builds the analysis from a fully contextualized foundation. Pull prompting is spec-driven analysis. You define the outcome, the model surfaces the requirements. You provide the inputs, The result reflects your actual environment, not a statistical average. This is how experienced threat hunters have structured investigations for years. You define what you're looking for, gather the right context, and then analyze. AI can now do the analytical heavy lifting once you provided the foundation. Use pull prompting anytime the quality of the output matters more than the speed of the first response. You can utilize it in threat analysis, incident investigation, policy development, architectural review. Now, these are examples that these are pull prompting use cases. Use push prompting for speed, use pull prompting for depth. Know which one the task requires. Every time you open a new session in Claude, ChatGPT, or Gemini, you're starting from scratch. The model doesn't remember your previous conversations. It doesn't know your SIEM platform, your network topology, your threat model, your compliance scope, or your detection capabilities. Every session, you're introducing yourself from scratch. This is the single biggest efficiency loss in most AI-assisted security workflows, and is entirely preventable. The solution is a master prompt. A master prompt is a structured document that contains the context AI needs to give you operationally relevant responses. You create it once. You paste it at the beginning of every session. From that point forward, the model isn't a stranger to your environment. It's a colleague who understands your stack. Here's what a security-focused master prompt contains. Your role and function, not the assigned prompt role, your actual function. SOC analyst, security architect, automation engineer, what you're responsible for and what decisions you own, your environment, SIM platform, EDR tools, cloud infrastructure, operating systems and scope, identity management systems. The more specific, the better the output. Your compliance scope, NAST, CIS controls, SOC 2, PCI DSS, HIPAA, whatever frameworks govern your security program. The model will calibrate its recommendations to what you're accountable for. Your threat model. Who are your likely adversaries? What are your highest value assets? Which attack vectors are most relevant to your industry? Your output preferences, whether it's tables, structured summaries, markdown, plain text. Establish this once so you don't have to specify it in every individual prompt. This document has 3 to 5 paragraphs. It takes 30 minutes to write once. After that, it takes 10 seconds to paste. In return, every AI session you run, every analysis, every threat hunt, every policy draft starts from your environment instead of from zero. That's not a marginal improvement. That's a structural change in the quality of every output you'll produce from this point forward. Create a master prompt for your role. Save it as a plain text file. Paste it at the start of every high-stakes AI session. This is the single highest leverage change most professionals can make to their workflow today. The master prompt solves the session initialization problem, but there's a second inefficiency in most AI security workflows, and that's repetitive tasks like log triage, CBE impact analysis, phishing artifact review, incident runbook generation. These are tasks you perform regularly, and if you're rebuilding your prompt from scratch each time, you're spending cognitive resources on the container, not the content. System prompts solve this. The system prompt is a pre-built analytical configuration. It defines a specific task, the role AI should take, the input format it expects, and the output format it should produce. You build it once. Every time you need that analysis, you paste the system prompt, provide the input, and receive structured output without additional configuration. Think of it as building specialized analysts, each one configured for a specific task, each one ready to work on demand. Here are 4 high-value system prompts for security operations. 4 ready-to-use prompts. 1 for log triage, CVE impact, phishing analysis, runbook generator. You'll find the full prompts are in the description below. These aren't experimental tools. Each one corresponds to a task your team performs at variable quality depending on who is available and how much pressure the moment carries. System prompts remove that variability. The output quality is consistent because the analytical framework is consistent. One more point. This library doesn't have to be yours alone. A team of 5 analysts, each contributing one system prompt, produces 5 specialized tools in a single sprint. Document them, version control them, treat them the way you treat runbooks, because that is exactly what they are. Pre-built intelligence tools any team member can deploy in seconds. Build one this week. Test it on a real task. Refine the output format. Then build the next one. Every framework we've covered today, AI can support all of it. Which raises the obvious question. If AI can analyze faster, scale without fatigue, and process more data than any individual professional, what remains for the human? More than most people assume, but less than most professionals currently rely on. Here's what AI cannot replicate in a security context. Adversarial judgment. AI is trained on historical attack patterns. It is exceptionally good at recognizing what attacks have looked like. It is not equipped to anticipate what the next novel technique will look like before it appears in any data set. Attackers don't operate from documented playbooks. They adapt, improvise, and find gaps that haven't been categorized yet. The professional who understands adversarial thinking, who asks the question, what would I do if I wanted to bypass this control? Brings something no training set can synthesize. Contextual risk decisions. AI scores vulnerabilities in isolation. It evaluates alerts against documented patterns. It doesn't know that the medium severity misconfigurations you just found sit in front of your most sensitive production database. Context isn't just technical, it's organizational. It's about knowing which risk your organization can tolerate and which ones it cannot. That judgment is yours. AI informs it, you own it. Trust under pressure. When an incident is live and leadership is watching, the value in the room isn't whoever has the most data. It's whoever can communicate clearly, make decisions with incomplete information, and lead the response. AI handles data. Professionals handle people. The professionals who would be displaced by AI are the ones performing tasks AI was always going to automate. For example, like checklist execution, report formatting, and rote analysis. The professionals who will remain indispensable are the ones who see the patterns beneath the surface, the ones who understand why controls exist, not just what they are, the ones who understand how adversaries think, not just what they've done. That understanding doesn't come from memorizing tools. It comes from developing judgment. AI gives you more time to develop it. Use that time. Here's what I want you to do before the end of this week. Pick one task you perform regularly, for example, like log review, CVE research, incident documentation, or phishing analysis. Take 15 minutes and build a structured prompt for it using the 4-part framework: role, context, command, and format. Run it once on a real task. Compare the output to what you've typically produced manually. Then refine the format and save it as a system prompt. That's it. One task, one structured prompt, one saved tool. You don't build a library overnight. You build it one tool at a time. Drop a comment below with the task you're starting with. I'll respond to each one. If this was useful, the next video builds on this foundation. We're going into real automation workflows and how to connect these prompts to actual security tooling. I'll see you there.